You're in a room. The game is on. Everyone around you is locked in, leaning forward, shouting at the screen, groaning, cheering. The tension is thick. Something important is clearly happening. And you feel nothing. Not boredom exactly. You understand what's going on. You know who's winning. You could follow along if you wanted to. But emotionally, the signal just doesn't land. It's like watching a transmission meant for someone else. Most people in this situation assume something is wrong with them. They wonder why everyone else seems so alive while they sit there untouched. They fake enthusiasm, nod along, hope nobody asks a follow-up question. But what if nothing is broken? What if this isn't apathy? It's just a different kind of wiring. To understand why sports grip most people so intensely, you have to go back, way back, to how our brains evolved. For most of human history, survival meant belonging to a group. Your tribe was your protection. Being accepted meant safety. Being cast out could mean death. The human brain evolved to take group loyalty very seriously. Modern sports plug directly into this ancient wiring. At their core, sports create a clean, emotionally charged version of us versus them. Your city against theirs. Your colors against theirs. The stakes feel high, even when nothing material is actually at risk. And your nervous system responds as if something real is happening. When your team wins, your brain releases dopamine and testosterone, insane chemicals associated with reward and victory. When they lose, stress hormones rise. Studies have shown that fans experience measurable hormonal shifts after games, mirroring the same biological patterns our ancestors had after a successful hunt or a territorial win. This isn't metaphorical, it's physiological. The brain doesn't distinguish between a symbolic victory and a literal one. Sports are effective because they offer a safe, socially acceptable way to activate the tribal brain. You get the belonging, the emotional release, the shared identity, without any of the actual danger. For most people, this feels grounding, energizing, natural. So here's the question. If this tribal instinct is universal, why do some people feel nothing when the game is on? The answer isn't that their tribal switch is broken. It's that it doesn't flip as easily, or in the same situations. Everyone has a threshold for what activates belonging. For some people, geography is enough. The city you were born in, the team your parents supported, the colors you grew up seeing on weekends, that's enough to trigger deep loyalty. For others, that threshold is higher. Loyalty needs to be earned through shared values, shared effort, or shared creation, not inherited by accident. From this perspective, sports fandom can feel strangely arbitrary. Think about it. The team you're supposed to support is determined by where your parents happened to live when you were born. The players change every season. The owners are billionaires who would move the franchise tomorrow if another city offered a better deal. For some minds, that arrangement just doesn't compute. Their nervous system pauses and quietly asks, what exactly am I being asked to attach to here? When the answer doesn't feel real or reciprocal, the signal fades, not out of cynicism, out of clarity. This doesn't mean they're rejecting connection. They're seeking it somewhere more authentic, in communities built around shared ideas, shared creations, shared values, things that don't reset every season. There's another factor that rarely gets discussed: capacity. Your brain has limited space for deep investment. Being a real fan, not a casual observer, but someone who truly follows a sport, requires serious mental bandwidth. You need to know the players, their histories, their stats. You need to understand the strategies, the rivalries, the trades. You need to track standings, follow news, remember moments from seasons past. This isn't a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Many people who don't follow sports have simply allocated that space elsewhere. Their passion slot is already occupied. Maybe it's music, maybe it's markets, maybe it's mastering a craft or understanding something that most people never take the time to study. It's not that they couldn't learn the game. It's that their brain has already built its own arena for a different pursuit entirely. The stadium is full. There's no room for another obsession. And somewhere along the way, consciously or not, they made a calculation about where that mental energy is better spent. Hours memorizing stats versus hours developing a skill. Emotional energy tied to outcomes they can't control versus energy invested in outcomes they can. Neither choice is superior. They're just fundamentally different orientations. Here's something fascinating about why watching sports can feel almost physical, even when you're sitting completely still. Inside your brain are cells called neurons. They fire not only when you perform an action, but when you watch someone else perform it. This is why you flinch when you see someone get hit, why your muscles tense when an athlete sprints toward the finish line. Neurologically, you're not just watching, you're simulating. When a quarterback throws a perfect pass, the same motor and reward circuits light up in the spectator's brain as if they were the one making the play. On some level, the brain experiences the victory as shared, borrowed. But here's the thing about mirror neurons. They require identification. You have to see yourself in the person you're watching. You have to feel like their victory could somehow be your victory. For people who don't obsess over sports, this system still works perfectly. It just attaches elsewhere. Their mirror neurons might light up watching a musician nail a difficult passage, or a craftsman transform raw material into something beautiful, or a thinker articulate an idea with perfect clarity. The surge is the same. The target is different. The question was never whether they could feel that borrowed thrill. It was always, who do they feel connected enough to feel it with? Let's address something real. There is a social cost to not caring about sports, and anyone who's experienced it knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sports are social currency. They're the default conversation starter in offices, at barbecues, in bars. When someone asks, "Did you see the game?" and you have nothing to say, there's a moment of awkwardness. A small wall goes up. You're suddenly an outsider in a conversation everyone else can participate in. People who don't follow sports have learned to navigate this. Some fake it. Some redirect. Some have simply accepted that certain social circles will remain partially close to them. But here's what they've also discovered. The relationships that don't require sports talk are often deeper. When you can't fall back on the game, you have to find other common ground. You have to actually learn what someone thinks, what they're building, what keeps them up at night. The conversations get more personal faster. The surface-level small talk evaporates because you don't have a default topic to hide behind. They've been forced to develop a different social toolkit, and in many cases, it serves them well. There's one more thing worth understanding. Think about what happens during a big game. Time stops, work disappears, problems dissolve. You're completely absorbed in something outside yourself. That's a form of meditation, a pressure valve. And for many people, it's genuinely healthy. But people who don't follow sports have found other ways to achieve that state. The workshop where hours pass unnoticed, the instrument that makes time disappear, the project that pulls them so deep they forget to eat. They're not against escape. They've just chosen escapes that leave something behind when the moment ends. So what does all this add up to? People who don't obsess over sports aren't deficient. They aren't antisocial. They aren't missing some gene that everyone else has. They've simply opted out of one particular tribal structure in favor of others. They've allocated their cognitive real estate to different pursuits. They've wired their mirror neurons to different heroes. They've chosen to build narratives rather than watch them unfold on a field. Their silence during the game isn't emptiness. It's the hum of a different engine. This isn't about superiority. It's about orientation. Some people are built to watch the game. Others are built to invent their own. And maybe the most honest thing any of us can do is care about what we actually care about, not what we're supposed to. If this put words to something you felt but never quite articulated, drop a comment. I'd love to know where your attention naturally goes instead. And if you want more conversations like this about the quiet patterns of the human mind, the things we don't usually name, subscribe. We explore these spaces together.